Welcome to the Spotlight video for the Supplier Scorecarding feature in Supplier Lifecycle Management. Customers who have purchased PeopleSoft Purchasing or Payables can take advantage of this Supplier Scorecarding feature. This Spotlight provides an in-depth overview of the Supplier Scorecarding functionality and covers the feature and benefits when managing supplier performance. Introduction. Supplier Scorecarding is a rich feature addition to the PeopleSoft's expanding Supplier Lifecycle Management feature set. We are invested in 4 strategic areas in our Supplier Lifecycle Management solutions. Under the Supplier Registration and Change Request initiative, we delivered the self-service supplier onboarding for suppliers and internal users when Release 9.2 was first introduced. Since supplier master information inevitably changes over time, we introduced self-service supplier change requests for suppliers and internal users in Image 11. More features in this area are also forthcoming. The first FSCM external-facing homepages and tiles were introduced with our Fluid Supplier Portal solution in Image 23. This portal serves both public and secure homepages. Future supplier-facing features will continue to help simplify your supplier's user experience. Under the Supplier Performance and Monitoring area, we delivered the Fluid Supplier Watch List, which also allows managers to proactively monitor selected suppliers. With Image 24, the Fluid Supplier 360 Analysis provides cockpit views and comparative views of selected supplier metrics. Future enhancements in this area is Supplier Scorecarding, which is the focus of this Spotlight video. With Supplier Scorecarding, you strengthen your company's ability to strategically manage suppliers, reduce supplier risk, increase supplier visibility, improve data management, and improve the bottom line. Our next significant investment area is Supplier Diversity and Certificate Management, along with a Qualifications dashboard. Supplier Scorecarding allows you to measure supplier performance against a set of targets to ensure that the supplier is meeting your organizational requirements. At a high level, scorecards are used to subjectively and objectively evaluate the performance of suppliers, solicit feedback from individuals within the organization that have had interactions with the supplier, create supplier evaluations that can include objective information in the form of KPIs that query transactional data about the supplier's performance, and review evaluation results, which are used to compile comparative and trend analytics so you can assess supplier performance and make future procurement decisions. Let's look at the overall Supplier Scorecarding business process flow. This diagram represents the complete business process flow for scorecarding. The process begins with the definition of setup data and then the creation of templates to be used as a basis for the supplier evaluations. After evaluations are created from the templates, they go to various evaluators for their responses. The responses are managed, reviewed, and posted. Then the scored results become available to reviewers at a summarized level. The information is used to determine the performance of the suppliers and take any appropriate steps that might be necessary as a result. Supplier scorecarding involves 4 general personas through the business process. This slide highlights the responsibilities for each of these personas. The Scorecard and Qualification Standards Committee are key stakeholders from across organizations. They are the decision makers who formulate standard evaluation templates. The scorecard owner is responsible for managing a large pool of buyers. Scorecard owners create and manage supplier evaluations. Evaluation participants are employees from departments across the organization. They subjectively rate suppliers in their area of responsibility using scorecard evaluations. Finally, scorecard reviewers are employees across the organization who are responsible for sourcing and procurement decisions. These individuals review posted scorecard analytics. Let's drill down to understand the importance of each of the activities across the scorecarding process flow and who in your organization would perform these activities. Before you start using scorecard evaluations to measure your supplier's performance, The first step is to set up the foundation data for the system. An essential piece of the setup is the establishment of evaluation templates. The main actor in this step is the Scorecard and Qualifications Standards Committee. The Standards Committee meet regularly to define standard evaluation template criteria, such as what questions to ask and how each question is weighted and scored. The Standards Committee appoints the Scorecard Administrator. The Scorecard Administrator's duty is to configure and set up this foundation data, which includes the setup of evaluation templates. This is an example of an evaluation template. Templates are standardized sets of questions, sections, and weightings. A template represents the key supplier performance criteria that your organization defines to monitor their strategic objectives. It's made up of elements that the Scorecard Administrator sets up as directed by the Scorecard and Qualifications Standards Committee. The template can include subjective questions, questions that you solicit feedback from individual evaluators, and objective questions, which are questions associated to a metric. After templates are created, Scorecard owners create evaluations from those templates. In your organization, Scorecard owners are typically responsible for managing a large pool of buyers. They are responsible for creating and managing supplier evaluations. After an evaluation is released, evaluators rate suppliers by completing and submitting their evaluation responses. Evaluation participants are employees from departments across the organization who subjectively rate suppliers in their area of responsibility using Scorecard evaluations. This is an example of a supplier evaluation. Evaluators rate the supplier and provide comments, then submit their completed evaluations back to the Scorecard owner. Evaluators can fill out evaluations from their mobile device. The Scorecard owner uses the Manage Evaluations page to monitor progress. In this step, the Scorecard owner monitors responses, sends out reminders, and applies KPIs if there are any objective questions on the Scorecard evaluation. The Scorecard owner continues to manage responses and reviews submitted evaluation scores. When the Scorecard owner deems the evaluation complete, the evaluation is posted, which means no further changes can be made. After the evaluation is posted, the results are available for review. Scorecard reviewers review scoring analytics and make important strategic decisions such as whether to take remedial action or requalify the supplier for contract renewal. Supplier performance management is a continuous process. Scorecard owners work with key stakeholders to review the qualification data and identify suppliers for re-evaluation. The evaluation process repeats again for the next evaluation period. In this next section, we'll provide an in-depth demo covering the major activities of the supplier scorecarding process. Let's discuss the setup and configuration you'll need to use for the supplier scorecarding feature. Using sample user CROTH as the Scorecard Administrator, password CROTH, log into the system. Then select from the list of home pages and choose Procurement Operations. From the Procurement Operations homepage, access the Supplier Scorecard dashboard from the Supplier Scorecard tile. The Supplier Scorecard dashboard consists of tiles that makes navigating to all your scorecard activities easy. Use the Manage Evaluation tile to drill down into any evaluation you might be working on. Access your scorecard question library from the Evaluation Questions tile. Need a new template or review an existing one? Use the Evaluation Template tile. Ready to create an evaluation for a supplier? Use the Create Evaluation tile. Scoring results for evaluations of your last 5 suppliers are also available through analytics presented to you from the Supplier Scorecard dashboard. To set up and configure the system, navigate to the Scorecard Administration page. The Scorecard Administration page consists of a collection of pages used to configure supplier scorecarding. Each item is a separate component. When planning your implementation, identify a scorecard administrator and configure their permission lists accordingly. If an individual has not been given permission to access a given component, the item does not appear in the navigation collection for that user. On the Scorecard Defaults page, you'll see one default option called Allow Evaluation to be Declined. This option configures the system to default whether to allow evaluators to decline responding to evaluations or not. You can override the default setting during evaluation creation. Next, we'll review template reason options. Use this page to define how reason codes should be used when making changes to available evaluation templates. Evaluation templates do not use set IDs. However, reason codes are managed by set ID. Therefore, you must tell the system which set ID to use for the set of reason codes you'll be using to track evaluation template changes. Next, choose whether reason codes are mandatory, optional, or not used for template changes. When you choose mandatory, you can then configure whether a reason comment is required. You can also configure the system to have specific reason codes appear as default when template changes are made. The default reason code can be overridden by the user at the time of the change. Please note, the actual reason codes for template changes should be defined prior to setting up template reason options. Template reason options can be changed at any time. Next, let's discuss the evaluation reason options page. There are 5 evaluation reason types associated with various evaluation actions. For each reason type, you have the option to define how reason code usage should be applied across different supplier set IDs. So not only do you have the option to track reasons when an evaluation has changed, you can also configure whether to track other evaluation actions, such as when an evaluator declines responding to an evaluation, or when a scorecard owner withdraws an evaluation. Configure whether you plan to use reason codes and whether comments are required. Optionally, you can define a default reason code for each of the pre-listed evaluation reason types. You need to set up reason codes before setting up evaluation reason options. Next, let's discuss template types. Template types help to classify or group templates when searching and filtering during the maintenance of templates or evaluations. For example, when your company starts using Supplier Scorecarding, you might want to start by defining a standard template to use when evaluating all your suppliers. Later, you may want to add a template type called Strategic to group additional templates used to evaluate your strategic group of suppliers. You could continue to add other template types to classify or group templates for commodities or services and so forth. Evaluation templates consist of questions that you group into sections. Section types classify or group sections used within templates and aid when searching and filtering during the maintenance of evaluation templates. For example, you may want to create a section type for sections to address the customer service provided by suppliers. At least one section type must be defined before a section can be added to a template. Question groups help you to manage and organize your questions. As your library of questions start to grow, searching and filtering questions by question groups help you find questions faster when including them on a template. At least one question group must be defined before a question can be created. KPI categories help when searching and selecting KPI definitions. Before you define KPIs, you must have KPI categories defined. Supplier evaluations can consist of questions that are subjective or objective. Subjective questions are questions that you solicit from evaluators to respond to on an evaluation. Objective questions allow you to associate a question to a metric that is captured through a query or entered manually. In Supplier Scorecarding, we refer to these as Key Performance Indicators, or KPIs for short. To use a KPI on an evaluation, the scorecard administrator must set up the KPI definition. When you first enter this page, KPI definitions in pending status are listed. Pending means you are still working on the definition and it is not yet available to be linked to an evaluation question. KPI definitions can also be in available status or in not available status. Available means the KPI definition is ready to be linked to an evaluation question. Not available means the KPI is no longer available to use. Let's take a look at one that is in available status to see how it is constructed. We'll choose late shipment KPIs and discuss how it is defined. KPI definitions are either entered manually or captured through a PeopleSoft query. If a KPI definition is manual, the scorecard owner needs to manually enter the value before evaluations can be posted. This KPI definition is linked to the query name CUST KPI Late Delivery. Let's dive a little deeper to discuss the queries that are associated to a KPI definition. With Supplier Scorecarding, we provide 4 out-of-the-box supplier performance queries that can be assigned to KPI definitions and then incorporated into supplier evaluations. These 4 are on-time performance, purchase order receipt quantity performance, quality performance, and quantity performance. You can use these delivered queries as your starting point when creating your own custom queries. It is important to note, however, that the delivered queries must not be changed. Within Query Manager, each query should be copied to a name that is easily recognizable. The copied queries are the ones that should be associated to KPI definitions when configuring Supplier Scorecarding. Prefix your custom queries with something other than SDC. This distinguishes your custom queries from the ones delivered with Supplier Scorecarding, as in this example. Also note that for the copied version of each query, the report entity constant from the copied from query needs to be changed to the report entity in which procurement history is captured. Use the delivered queries as your starting point or build your own custom queries. If your queries use procurement history, then you must set up your system to capture procurement history on a regular basis for all suppliers you plan to evaluate based on these query metrics. For more information regarding procurement history or how to set up your own custom queries, refer to the Additional Resources section of this spotlight. Now let's turn our attention to KPI mapping methods. There are 2 choices, actual or scoring model. The value from the KPI query result is used to compute the evaluation score. Therefore, you must tell the system how you want to incorporate this value. Should the actual value from the query be used, or does it need to be mapped to a scoring model? If the mapping method is scoring model, use the mapping definition to define your mapping. In this example, the KPI is to be used in evaluations to track a rating for the number of late shipments. You want to use a scoring model of poor to excellent ratings in your evaluations. You also want to indicate that if more than 10 shipments are late, the supplier should get a poor rating. If a score is between 7 and less than 10, the rating is fair. A score below 7 but more than 4 times is considered good, and so forth. Supplier scorecarding KPIs provide flexibility to standardize ratings and administer ratings for your KPIs. If a KPI is associated with an evaluation template, the KPI mapping method cannot be changed. To retire a KPI, select Not Available. This prevents the KPI from appearing when selecting KPIs for new KPI questions. Now let's look at the next setup item, which is detail calendars. Supplier Scorecarding uses the pre-existing financials and supply chain detail calendar functionality. You can also access this page using standard menu navigation. This is Setup Financials and Supply Chain Common Definitions. However, a link is available from the Scorecard Administration's nav collection that takes you directly to this page. You can create new calendars or use existing calendars already available in the system. Defining evaluations using calendar periods gives you the capability to measure and evaluate a supplier's performance and review trends from one period to the next. Using calendar periods also gives you the ability to compare multiple suppliers across the same period. Therefore, if you used a quarterly calendar period, you could review the performance of several suppliers and see how they compare to each other for that quarter. Using calendars to define periods is not mandatory when creating evaluations. However, it may be the most common approach. Later, when we discuss creating evaluations, you will see how you have the flexibility to create ad hoc evaluations where you enter the start and end date for an evaluation rather than reference a calendar period. One example of why you might want to create an ad hoc evaluation could be when you want to score a supplier based on the start and end dates of your procurement contract. Now let's go back to the Scorecard administration page and discuss scoring models. This page illustrates examples of different models you might want to establish for evaluations. Let's look at the poor to excellent example. Scoring models are used to rate supplier performance for questions within a section. Scoring models can also be used when setting up a KPI definition. Later, when we discuss evaluation templates, we'll show how scoring models can be associated to each section of a template and how every subjective question within that section has the same possible response. Each response is a rating with a scoring value. What the evaluator sees when they evaluate a supplier is the rating text. As you can see from this example, scoring values do not need to be equally distributed. For example, when using this particular scoring model with your evaluation questions, a response of very good can have a value of 90%, but a response of good only gets a score of 70%. If you want to allow the evaluator to be able to respond with not applicable, then select the checkbox. The system automatically adds a non-applicable row to the rating. Messages next to the Information button tell you if the scoring model is in use and what you are allowed to change on the existing model. If you need to make a material change to a scoring model that is in use on active evaluations, we suggest that a new scoring model be created rather than changing the one that is already in use on evaluations. If you plan to turn on reason tracking in either the template reason options or evaluation reason options setup pages, then use the reason codes page to define reason codes for your scorecard related reason types. For more information on scorecard reason types, refer to the additional resources section of this spotlight. In the previous segment, we've covered all the setup and configuration pages available from the Scorecard Administration Navigation Collection. Please note that Supplier Scorecarding also leverages the auto-numbering feature to automatically assign sequential numbers to question IDs, template IDs, section IDs, and evaluation IDs. To navigate to the auto-numbering page, use the navigator and go to Setup Financial Supply Chain, Common Definitions, Codes and Auto-Numbering, and Auto-Numbering by Installation. For more information about auto-numbering, refer to the Additional Resources section of this spotlight. Before we jump over to our next topic, defining evaluation templates, let's take a quick look at evaluation questions. Evaluation templates consist of a series of weighted questions. For ease of navigation, you can select from existing questions or create new questions directly from evaluation templates. You can also add and maintain your question library directly from the Evaluation Questions tile. The system defaults to search for pending questions, meaning questions that are not yet available for use. You can allow the system to generate the next sequence ID using the auto-numbering feature or manually assigning a question ID. If you select KPI as the question type, the system prompts the KPI definition to associate to the question. Choose a KPI definition that is a query based on procurement history. For questions that are associated to KPIs, a link appears to view the KPI definition details. If the KPI definition maps to a scoring model, you can drill down to view the mapping from the Mapping Definition link. For query type definitions, use the SQL definition link to view the query. Proceed to fill out the question text that you want to appear on the valuation and save your changes. Our next step is to define evaluation templates. From the Supplier Scorecard homepage, choose the Evaluation Template tile. On the Evaluation Template search page, the system automatically searches for pending evaluations owned by you. Let's expand the search and take a look at an example of an available template first and discuss some template features. Later, we'll review the steps to create a new template. Available templates are templates that are available for use. They can be used when creating evaluations. Notice the Commodities template that has two versions, 1 and 2. Versioning, along with the ability to track reasons through reason codes, provides the power and capability to make material changes to standardized templates while keeping track of why changes were made. Drill down on the second version of the Commodities template. After a template has been placed in available status, change history tracking starts. Who made the change and when is captured whenever a change is made to templates in available status. If template reason codes are configured, you also see the change reason code, description, and change comments that were entered. When a template is in available status, it can be used on evaluations. Therefore, we limit what can be changed. For example, you can still make immaterial changes such as changing the order of the sections or reassigning the owner of the template. However, you cannot make material changes such as changing the scoring model or weights. If you need to make material changes to the template, you can create a new version by selecting the Create New Version link. To view the questions and weights that make up each section, drill down on the section row. You can make minor changes on this page, such as changing the order in which the questions appear for the Delivery Performance section. You can also make minor changes such as editing the instructions or changing whether comments are needed. Question weights, however, cannot be changed after a template is in available status. Now let's return to the Evaluation Template search page and create a new template. The number of steps to define a new template are few. Click the Add button to start. Leverage the auto numbering feature to have the system auto-assign a template ID. Let's say you want to establish a template to evaluate suppliers that are strategic to your company. You plan to use this as a standard template that captures and evaluates supplier performance in the areas of quality and safety. Start by naming your template and choose the template type to group this template. The Standards Committee wants to start using this template today. You can create new sections manually or copy from existing templates as your starting point. For the first section, Quality Performance, we'll demonstrate the Add Section approach. Then later, when we add the second section, we'll discuss the Copy from Template approach. Start by entering the section name. Select a section type to search for this new section in the future. Provide meaningful instructions for your evaluators because instructions are visible on evaluations that use this section. For this section, the Standards Committee would like to use a 5-point scoring model that ranges from disagree to agree. Drill down on the scoring model to view the model definition. The text in the rating column shows how scoring appears for the evaluator. After you've selected the scoring model for this section, the scoring model appears in the upper right of the section page. Next, add questions to the quality section that the Standards Committee wishes to include. Click Add Question to access available questions from your evaluation question library. You can narrow your search by searching on question text, question group, or question type. If the Standards Committee requests a new question, you can add a new question directly from this page without having to exit the component. Use the Create New button. New questions added directly from this page are automatically saved to the master question library and assigned a status of available. If the questions are predefined, select them from the search results section. When you initially select a set of questions using the Add Question button, the system distributes the weight evenly across the questions. Before adjusting the weights, let's finish adding the questions requested by the Standards Committee. The Standards Committee requested a particular KPI question in the Quality section. Click the plus button to add. Filter on KPI and search. To verify this is the correct KPI, drill down for more details. You can also view the query definition for this KPI by clicking on the View SQL button. Now that you've confirmed this is the correct KPI question to add to the Quality section, select it to add it to the Quality section. Notice how a section can consist of subjective questions, KPI questions, or both. Next, evaluate whether additional instructions are needed for specific questions or whether comments are required for questions. Now that you've added all the questions to the Quality section, review and adjust the weights. If all the questions within the section are to be equally weighted, you can use the equal weight to 100% to rebalance the weightings, or you can manually enter weights. Remember, weighting template sections and questions are defined by your company's Standards Committee. Each section within a template also has a weight. This provides the flexibility to weigh a particular section higher or lower compared to other sections within the template. Since we've only added one section at this point, the system defaults the percentage to 100%. Now let's discuss how you can add a section to your template using the Copy from Template feature. Use this process when you want to add a section that is defined on another template. The Copy option is a powerful feature that lets you define whether to retain a section ID or create new section ID. Use the Retain Section ID option to share this section ID with the template from which it was defined. This allows you to generate section-level comparison reports against evaluations that share the same section. If your need is to copy the section without keeping this association, you should choose Create New Section ID. Identify the template with the section that you want to share. To verify your selection, use the section name link to view the section definition. Use the shared link to view all the templates that share this section. This page tells you that any evaluation built from the Combination Strategic Template, the Supply Chain Commodities KPIs template, or our current template, Strategic General, includes the Safety with KPIs section. Therefore, your company can report on consistent evaluation questions and weightings for Safety with KPIs across evaluations based on other templates as long as they share this section. When you've determined the sections you want, select them and click Done to add them to your template. After you've added the section to your template, you can drill down to the section to preview the section contents. Notice the message at the top. It informs you that this section is shared by other templates. You can make minor changes to this section, but you cannot make changes such as adding or deleting questions or changing weights. This is because it would adversely affect any templates that share this section. Continue to add as many sections as required by your Standards Committee. In this example, there are 2 sections. When you are finished adding sections and questions to your template, review the section weights and verify you have accurately captured the weight requirements from the Standards Committee. In this example, you notice the section weight for quality is not correct. The Standards Committee wants to give the quality section 80% of the points, but the Safety with KPI section should only be 20%. You can either drill down to each section details to modify section weights one by one, or use the Modify Weights button to navigate to the Section Weights Update Options page. This page allows you to view and edit section weights relative to each other. When you're finished defining your template, save the changes. Use the View Details button to review your entire template definition from a single page. You can also send your template to other users for review. Review recipients receive an email containing a link to the single-page view of the evaluation template. Be sure you provided permission to access the View Details page. When you are satisfied that your evaluation template is complete, change the template status to Available. The template can now be used to create new evaluations. After the system is configured and templates are defined, you are ready to start creating evaluations. We'll create an evaluation so you can see how powerful this new feature is for your organization. As a scorecard owner, use the Create Evaluation tile. You can create a new evaluation manually using a guided process, or you can use the Copy Evaluation option to carry over the entire contents from another evaluation. The Supplier Scorecarding VFO has an excellent demonstration that shows the Copy Evaluation option. For this spotlight, we'll choose the Create Evaluation option and show you the complete step-by-step process. Let's create an evaluation for Big Comp USA for the third quarter of 2018. We'll allow the system to automatically assign an evaluation ID rather than entering it manually. Enter a name and supplier for the evaluation. We'll use the PeopleTools activity guide to guide us through the steps. The status next to the steps serve as visual indicators to keep track of where we are in the process. For the first step, general information, we'll enter basic information to describe what the evaluation is for, such as the evaluation period. The system automatically sets the planned release date to today's date and the due date to 2 weeks from today. You can override these dates if needed. Earlier, during the setup and configuration part of this spotlight, we showed you how to set a default as to whether evaluators can decline responding to evaluations. This is where you can override that default. For this evaluation, we'll allow evaluators to decline responding. Next, enter a description. Using the ad hoc option, you have the flexibility to define the time frame for which the evaluation should be completed. However, if you plan to monitor period-to-period trend performance for Big Comp USA, or if you plan to compare Big Comp USA with other suppliers for the same period, then you'll want to identify the calendar year and period. Notice the period that the system shows in the From and To Date fields for the evaluation period. Enter the instructions that will appear on the evaluation. That's all it takes to complete the first step. Remember, if you had created this evaluation by copying from an existing evaluation, all of the fields would be pre-populated from the copied from evaluation. You could then change the period for the new evaluation and edit the existing description and instructions as needed. Save your changes and then proceed to the next step. When you save, the system assigns an ID to your evaluation. The system recognizes that all required fields have values and provides a visual indicator that this step is complete. Let's move to step 2, selecting an evaluation template. Remember from our evaluation template discussion, all key performance criteria is captured in predefined templates. These include the standard sets of questions, sections, weightings, and scoring model that the scorecard committee members established. Therefore, you don't need to enter any of these details directly on the evaluation. You simply choose the standardized template that contains all these details. To facilitate identifying the template you want, use the Detail Action button to view the complete template details. You can view what the template and version would look like on an evaluation form. We'll select the Commodities template, which contains the delivery, quality, pricing, and customer service sections that your standards committee wants you to use for commodity suppliers. When you select a template, the details are displayed. We've completed step 2 and are ready to move to step 3 to assign evaluators. For this evaluation, we want 3 evaluators to rate the supplier. Harold Ford, who is an accounting manager, Jose Gomez, the Commodities Quality Assurance Manager, and Mei Lee, an ePro buyer. We can narrow our search by username, user ID, or role. To add more evaluators, click the plus button. Follow the same steps to enter the criteria for searching and choose your evaluator. We can tailor which sections each evaluator responds to by deselecting the All Section default and then selecting each individual section we want the evaluator to respond to. The evaluation form sent to each evaluator is tailored to show only the sections we've specified. We can click the Save button to save the changes, or click the Next button to automatically save and continue to the final step. The previous 3 steps are all that is needed to create an evaluation. Step 4 allows you to review the evaluation before releasing it. If adjustments are needed, use the Previous button or the steps in the activity guide to return to a step. Use the Preview button to see how the evaluation form appears to evaluators. If for any reason you don't want to continue with an evaluation and wish to delete it, you can do so before the evaluation has been released to evaluators. We will release this evaluation. When an evaluation is released, the system processes several validation steps. It then sends an email and push notification to evaluators asking them to complete the evaluation. Now that the evaluation has been released, evaluators can respond to it. We'll log into the system as Jay Gomez, who is one of the evaluators. Evaluators can respond to evaluations using their smartphone, tablet, or desktop. In this spotlight, we'll show the pages via desktop. Evaluators have several options to access pending evaluations. They can access an evaluation from a link in the email that is sent to evaluators when the evaluation is released. They can also access the evaluation from an in-app push notification. They can select the notification icon to view and access recent notifications. Live data on the tile informs evaluators that they have one new and in-process evaluation. Evaluators select the tile to view their evaluations. Evaluations that are new or in process are automatically displayed. We'll respond to the evaluation by selecting it. Summary information such as supplier, period for the evaluation, and due date is displayed. Click Continue and begin the evaluation. There is an instruction indicator if a question has additional instructions. These instructions are useful to make the most accurate rating selection. If comments are required, text within the comment box notifies the evaluator. Continue to complete the evaluation. When finished, submit the response. The evaluation is complete. As a scorecard owner, you'll want to monitor the progress of evaluators' responses. If an evaluation has KPIs, you'll need to have KPI values applied. You also need to decide when the evaluation is ready to be posted and available for review. Let's go back to our demo to see how these actions are performed. Returning to the system as a scorecard owner, find the tile called Manage Evaluations on the Supplier Scorecard homepage. Notice that you have one pending and released evaluation. This means that you have a total of one evaluation outstanding, which has either a pending or released status. Let's drill down on this tile. The page defaults to show all the evaluations in either a pending or a released status. If you need to view or take action on evaluations in other statuses, expand the New Search area to change your filters. You can access pending evaluations, which are evaluations that you are still creating and have yet to release. You can also access released evaluations to manage the evaluator responses, apply KPIs, or review and post evaluation results. You can also access posted evaluations to view individual evaluator and overall evaluation results. Lastly, you can view withdrawn evaluations. Drill down on the evaluation for BigComp USA Q3 2018 and review the progress for this evaluation. Notice that at a glance, the Manage Responses page shows you all the incoming responses. This is intuitively organized so that you can quickly take the required action. The chart gives you a summary view of the number of respondents and their status. Submitted gives you the number of completed and submitted evaluations. New means evaluators have not started. If there were any that were started but not submitted, then you would also see a bar showing the count of in-progress evaluations. The overall score gives you the score based on the individual evaluation submitted and the time this page was opened. There are several actions you can take from this page, such as adding and removing evaluators, reminding evaluators, viewing specific evaluator responses, and omitting responses. If you need to give more time for evaluators to respond, you can change the due date. The system keeps an audit trail of all activity performed against released evaluations. Anytime you need to review what activities have taken place, simply select the View Change History from the Actions list. You can also withdraw an evaluation from the Actions list. Besides managing responses for subjective questions, one of the responsibilities of the scorecard owner is applying the KPI values for this evaluation. To do this, expand the steps on the left and go to the Apply KPI Values step. You can expand or collapse the left panel to toggle between the Manage Evaluator Responses page, Apply KPI Values page, and Manage and Post Results page. The same status summary section you saw on the Manage Evaluator Responses page is repeated on the Apply KPI Values page for your reference. Below this section is a list of the KPI questions that were included on this evaluation, ordered by the section containing the KPI. To take action on a KPI, select the row. The Evaluation Information section of this page shows you the details about the KPI relative to the evaluation. You can also drill down for further details about this KPI. If a KPI question is a query type, the Apply KPI button appears. Click this button to have the system automatically execute the query and populate the actual, accepted, and final score values. The actual KPI value is the value resulting from the execution of the query. Since this particular KPI is not mapped to a scoring model, the final score is the same as the actual KPI value. However, if a scoring model was mapped to this KPI, then the system applies the scoring model and the final score reflects the mapped score. The system also tracks the last updated date and time the KPI was applied. A unique feature is the ability to enter an accepted KPI value. This feature is extremely handy. Say, for example, there was a clerical mistake made on the part of your receiving department which adversely affected the transaction data, such that the value resulting from the KPI query was unjustly low. Using the Accepted KPI Value field, you have the ability to manually enter a more accurate value. The final score is automatically applied to the scoring model, if any, using the accepted KPI value. When you are finished, save the KPI results and return to the Apply KPI Values main page. The KPI question values and scores are now populated and the overall score is recalculated. Continue through the list of KPI questions to apply remaining KPI values. Our next demo topic covers the review and post activities. Continuing where we left off on the demo, the Manage and Post Results page helps you monitor and review scores at the overall level, section level, and individual question level. Average scores are displayed for all the evaluations submitted so far. Column A shows the average score for each of the questions, and the total score for each section is displayed at the end of each section. If at any time you want to review how the evaluation scores are calculated, use the Information button to the right of the results summary. Drill downs are available at the overall, section, and question levels. Let's take a look at a few of these drill downs. The Overall Evaluation Results drill down gives you a complete list of all the evaluators assigned to this evaluation and their response status. If an evaluator has submitted their response, you can drill down further to view the individual evaluator section scores. Use the Evaluator Section Summary page to view and compare the evaluator's section-level scores to the average for all evaluators assigned to the same sections. The evaluator's scores appear under the Score and Weighted Score columns. The average score for all evaluators are shown under the Average Score and Average Weighted Score columns. Drill down further if you need to review the evaluator's scores for each question within a section. The evaluator's scores for each question within the section are shown with the average scores for all evaluators. Similar drill downs are available at the section and question level to assist you in monitoring and viewing scores and responses. After you've received evaluation responses and you are ready to have the evaluation results available for others to review, post the evaluation to finalize the scorecard results and make them available for scorecard analytics. After an evaluation has been posted, the evaluation results and scores can be analyzed by any user who has been granted permission to access the evaluation analysis component. There are several ways you can access the scorecard results. You can access scorecard results using the Supplier Watch List page, which you can access from the Procurement Operations homepage. Or you can access scorecard results for the last 5 suppliers evaluated from the 2 analysis tiles on the Supplier Scorecard dashboard. Returning to the demo as a scorecard reviewer, we'll discuss 2 analysis tiles on the Supplier Scorecard dashboard. Use the Overall Score Rank tile to view the overall scores for the last 5 suppliers with posted evaluations. Use the Overall Score Trend tile to view and compare trending results for the last 5 suppliers. Let's drill down on the Overall Score Rank tile. You can expand the left search to change your pivot grid search filters. You can also take actions from the Action button on the grid, such as drilling down to the details of an evaluation. Notice that a threshold is set for this pivot grid. Starting with PeopleTools 857, you can personalize thresholds with any pivot grid. This is a nifty feature because you can configure a threshold by range or provide a distinct value. Then you can have the system alert you via email or push notification when a data point is above, below, or within a threshold range. Access the Supplier Watch List tile from the Procurement Operations homepage. The Supplier Watch List tile tells you that you are monitoring event data for 5 suppliers. On the left is the list of the suppliers on watch. We'll look at the scorecard analytics for BigComp USA. Notice the 3 related information analytics. The Supplier Performance Analytic displays the results of the last evaluation for BigComp USA. You see the score broken down by section and the overall score, and whether the scores are trending up, down, or are flat. And you see an overall trend line for each of the scoring sections. You also have analytics for the overall score trend and section score trend, showing how the supplier is trending over time. We'll use the overall score trend to show the power of using pivot grids for analyzing scorecard information. Click on the Expand icon to drill into the pivot grid. Here you see a more detailed view of the overall score trend. Expand the search criteria to the left to alter your pivot grid results by changing the criteria. Let's compare this supplier with other suppliers you are currently watching. Notice how the pivot grid changed so you can visually compare all suppliers over the past year. You can quickly see your top performers and whether any suppliers may need to be put on a performance plan. If you need more details on individual question and sections, use the grid beneath the chart to drill down and view specific evaluation results per supplier for a specific evaluation period. A breakdown of the individual question and section scores lets you hone in on exactly what evaluators are reporting as a problem and where the supplier is doing well. All data is confidential. The reviewer cannot see who the evaluators were or how they responded. Procurement decision makers benefit from PeopleSoft Supplier Scorecarding's individual, trend, and supplier comparison analytics. It is a method for determining whether supplier performance is on the mark for meeting the organization's supplier performance requirements. When it comes time to requalify your suppliers, you can continue through the supplier scorecarding business process to create new evaluations for your next evaluation period. We've walked through the entire business process for supplier scorecarding and demonstrated the key features. Let's review the benefits of these features and how they help to solve your supplier performance management needs. Supplier scorecarding helps you manage your suppliers. It eliminates your spreadsheets and automates your business process for collecting feedback about supplier performance. Leverage the data collected from Supplier Scorecarding to help you make strategic procurement decisions. Supplier Scorecarding also gives you the control you need to accurately measure performance. These controls give you the confidence to trust reliable scoring results. We've also designed Supplier Scorecarding to be intuitive. Information is presented so you can perform your tasks quickly and easily. We understand your need to handle common activities with intuitive pages and simple navigation. In addition, we understand that every organization has unique configuration needs and exceptions to manage. Therefore, our solution is designed with flexibility in mind. We've reached the end of the Spotlight video. We hope this video gives you a deeper understanding of supplier scorecarding and what features it offers to address your supplier performance monitoring needs. Additional resources can be found on the following sites. For more information about supplier scorecarding, refer to PeopleSoft Online Help documentation under Understanding Supplier Scorecarding. You can also find more information about understanding procurement history and auto-numbering in PeopleSoft's Online Help Purchasing and Application Fundamentals documentation. Watch the video feature overview for Supplier Scorecard, which provides a good summary-level overview of the supplier scorecarding and a demonstration of the copy evaluation feature.